Okay, welcome again. My name's Christopher Skinner, and this is,
Amber Hargroder,
and
and we are Stealth Dog Labs.
all right. So here's our next topic that we wanted to bring up. This is based on research we did on 152,000 companies in North America. And we looked at the leadership teams of those companies. And we created a score. We looked at two things that were important to us. We wanted to, our fundamental question is it me or is it the company? And a lot of people, as on our last video, we talked about that 79%. It's a 4 in 5 chance that you're working for a company that's struggling. And there's only about a 7% chance you're working at a company, even in these times, that's harmonious. And it's regardless of size, industry, everything. It comes down to the leadership team. So I wanted to start by showing uh, this problem of leadership teams that focus on quality versus how much obstructionism exists inside of that team. Any comments to begin, Amber?
I have lots of thoughts, but let's see where it goes.
All right. So here we're going to show now, here we go. So this is the obstructionist score. And when you get above almost a 6 is when you have true. Below that, it's what you would call like if your company score was, say, a 4, we just look at that and go, doesn't matter. It's not, it's noise. It's not registering. Certainly if it's a 0, 2, 3, 4, it's below radar, is what we would say. When your obstructionist score gets to 8, the 10, the 12, leadership, the simplest way to put it is leadership in your organization is likely to say, no, we can't, no, we don't want to do that. Like it could be as simple as, I mean, do you have any examples from life? I'm trying to think of some
Well, I
examples.
mean,
Go ahead.
let's say managers saying, "Oh, we're all aligned." And no, we're not aligned at all. It turns out that behind the scenes, leadership is actively killing the things that will save the company because it's not their favorite way, or they just like stopping things, or
It's
they just have a
obstruction.
high obstructionism score.
Yeah.
Like the part of who they are at a psychological level is to obstruct.
Yeah.
And I think you know when you're working with someone like that intuitively because nothing you ever do gets buy-in. You can have a great idea that lots and lots of people are interested in and support, and then you get to the leader who has a lot of obstructionism in their psychology, and it's just like, no, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no. Like this is gonna be my second Margaret Thatcher reference of the day. I don't even know if she has a high obstructionist score. We should check.
True.
Like,
Uh, so when we look at companies, and this is plotting 150, well, this is plotting a sampling of 10,000 out of the 152,000. But the next thing I'd like to point out, that was obstructionism. This is a quality and innovation orientation. So if the company is quality and innovative, and it gets to be about call it a 78 and above, if you're at a publicly traded company, you're doing very, very well. This company is satisfying customer satisfaction. Stock price keeps going up even through uncertain times. You're in tune with your customer, but you're balancing it with the economics of the company. So two things that are sometimes opposed to one another. Um, the company is forward thinking, it's positive, it's proactive, and it's rewarding to be there, and it's rewarding for investors. So
when
that
I think on
little,
a personal level, well, just real quick, if you work at one of these companies, you're not constantly second guessing your value. You might be
ah,
tired because you're working hard, but you're not burned out and exhausted. You're
Yeah,
not thinking of, selling everything and moving to Bali. You're not thinking about starting a homestead. You really are, you feel very content in your job. Maybe you're working hard
that's
and
true.
that's trying, but you feel that there's momentum and purpose behind it. So it's not soul crushing. Whereas if you're way up there in the red,
Yeah.
it's soul crushing and you're filled with doubt and questioning and anxiety. And is it me? Am I insane? What is going on? Do they know
Blame
something?
others.
Yeah, like you really are in a bad mood. You're venting to all your friends. Like your sisters are tired of hearing about it. They think you should just quit. Like you're dealing with an obstructionist company at that point if you're constantly becoming a negative, toxic person. Whereas if
Yeah.
you're working for a quality company with people who orient themselves towards quality, you're a happy person. Your relationships are probably healthy. Your gut health is probably pretty good. You're in a good place, like as
Yeah.
a person.
Yeah. So here we have, you're bringing up that concept of, relationship harmony, which is safety, psychological safety, challenge, and investment all balanced.
Yeah,
So
like
it might be hard. It's difficult. You have to learn a lot constantly, but it's safe. You can make mistakes
yeah.
without being,
Like when,
without the gotcha moment.
yeah, like when your alarm goes off in the morning, you're not dreading going to work.
Right. So
Like, yeah.
you see this little, it's almost like a slope, right? Right there. It doesn't
Mhm.
exist on this side. It's different, but you could see this little slope that appears. And you see all this negative space. There's really, outside of these two little entities, there's nothing that exists. It's this white space is saying there's no companies. Remember the 78, right? So that's kind of a magic line in the sand of high performing, exceptional um, customer satisfaction and financial satisfaction. And so from that little line here to the right, there's nothing at high obstructionism. So what this is saying, if the leadership is obstructionist, there is about a 1 in 5,000 chance of being financially successful. That's pretty damning. In fact, it's frightening to think that there's a lot of obstructionist companies and their score on innovation and quality and the customer is horrific. It's there's certainly some companies that are close, they can save themselves. You might have a 60 score, you might have a 40 score. It's recoverable. But if you have a 20 or a negative score, you could care less about customers. And psychologically, it's almost like you don't care about yourself.
Mm.
Weird, huh? So the little slope is telling us if you're in this kind of a company, um, well, here's the thing. The reason that this doesn't exist is because great companies that are above 78 and above on our scale, these rare exceptional companies never hire obstructionist leaders. These are problem solving, thoughtful, predictive, intuitive people by nature overall. If there's a problem, they're out. They don't stay. They're pushed out. And that's that rare space that you see from this 78 point up, which is representing about 6% of the harmonious companies. So obstructionist companies don't exist that do well. That's statement number one. If you happen to be working for one of these obstructionist companies and you're still in, they say, the 60 to 70 range, uh, you contributing in a way that breaks this mold, it's possible to save that company. It's possible to make progress and do well. If you're working for a company that's hopelessly way behind, you might have lock-in, but it's just a matter of time. It might be just a matter of time before that company is taken over. And we discussed it on the last video. There's several examples of companies, specifically like Nike, where they're under such threat. The investors see it. but they might be so not focused on the customer at this point that can they add enough points to get to some kind of financial stability? And how do you fit inside of that? And where are you inside of that mess? It's tough. It's a tough spot. It's so dysfunction is hard to break out of. It's really a hard breakout. So that's the point of this video. If you're in one of them, all you can do is you look at your circle of influence and try to communicate and try to break the obstructionism in that organization so that it can save itself.
Well, let me ask you a question. Knowing what we know about our data,
Mhm.
if you are opportunistic, obstructionist, and you have false empathy, that makes you a dictator. But what other patterns have obstructionism? Can you have a high obstructionism score and be results oriented? I would say that's a way to be dysfunctional.
Well, what happens is obstructionism wins. It just wins. It doesn't matter. You could be a systems thinker, but if you have high obstructionism, you can think of amazing things, but you're not going to ever succeed. So it negates the Torbert mindset. There's
Hmm.
no winning. Now, remember, when you cluster people like this together, and the people that end up on the executive team all have, say, a 12 score in obstructionism, and that's so pronounced, it doesn't matter. Your purpose driver could, I don't know, it's like pushing on the gas and the brakes at the same time. Maybe that's a way to describe it. You could have an incredible, there's how, well, it turns out some of the great examples of that are some of music and film actors, performers, incredible mindsets. They are result systems thinkers, but the obstructionism is so high, they end up doing something so dumb. They end up in the news for all the wrong reasons.
So, I mean, the core dysfunction areas that affect someone who does have an incredible mindset would be obstructionism, narcissism. What's a third? Is there a third?
There's a ton.
Oh, martyrdom, but
That's not going to, I don't know if that's leaders. I mean, yes, that's leaders. The problem when you're looking at 100 million people all at once is there's examples of everything. But when you're trying to just, oh my gosh, I think I'm working for an obstructionist company, um, that's all you need to know. But yes, there's tons and tons of dysfunction. There's ethics, there's passive aggressive, um, there's any trait in the wrong direction could be really damaging. So you can be an opportunist, for instance. An opportunist is really good for short-term thinking. That works great for firemen. It works great for sales bros. They don't plan. They plan 5 minutes at a time. And if you find yourself in an industry that's needing to plan, that in itself is a dysfunction. But overall, it's positive in the right. If you're a fireman, it's a fantastic thing. You're thinking on your
well,
feet.
I think every dysfunction has its role, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
working in cybersecurity, don't you want obstructionists?
Yeah. I mean, for the way the cybersecurity industry is oriented, um, I call it like trying to catch raindrops. Yeah, they tend to think the first answer is no because they can mitigate defect. If they make a mistake, they could wreck everything. So without that's one of the rare roles. That's a complicated one.
Sorry.
Cybersecurity basically doesn't work. And it's it's just like this. I mean, how many people inside of Zoom are watching this video or have privilege to watching this video? How
Hmm.
about everybody at Zoom? Uh, we don't know. You
Hi,
know,
Zoom.
they might have a policy. We don't know where this gets shipped to, copied,
Yeah.
you know. It's not tunneled. I know this, that if you can recover your password, you you don't have that big of security. You don't have a encrypted key methodology in place. But is that obstructionism? It's like, well, it's also a business model. It's like, who cares? That goes off a long, dark topic right there. But
Well, let's zoom back into leadership because I think in leadership, obstructionism is bad. And we haven't
yes,
seen, when we ran a bunch of CEOs, we did not see a lot of narcissists.
no, 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 you
I don't
don't.
think a narcissist can do that job.
People
Well,
mistaken.
anyway.
I think, one of the interesting, I want to save the narcissism topic for the next video, but sometimes people mix these things up. They look at obstructionism as discipline. If the answer is no, well, Amber, that violates our policy. You have to go back and read the policy. And it's not in the policy. It's an interpretation. This person wants to say no. And that's obstructionism where it could, to some people, they might think of it as a disciplined thinker. Like, oh, this can't be correct. It's based on science. Oh, no, I've never heard of it. Okay. Have you heard of everything? But what might look like I'm following rules, I'm following a formula to discover the truth is doesn't really exist. It's not that person's purpose driver that's dominating their life. Could be obstructionism. But look, here's the good news. Successful companies reject obstructionists. They don't hire them. One thing HR does get right, or at least leaders somehow get right, if they see the naysayer, they're not put on the team. If they're on the team, you have a you have a temporary job because that company is terrible and it's going to fail.
Well, my experience with the hardcore obstructionist, he was the founder. So,
Are they around still?
no. I mean, it's a penny stock now. So, I mean, that just
Rest my
shows you
case.
what happens.
Yeah,
Hmm?
rest my case.
Yeah.
All obstructionists have temporary jobs.
Well, I think, as someone who gets hired by an obstructionist and
Mm,
they're like, hey, we're in trouble, we're hiring you to fix this problem. And then you fix the problem. It's working. What you built is working. And they're like, no, we're going to do something else. You really start to lose your mind because you're just
yeah,
like, what did I do wrong? Like, is it
yeah.
me? Like, you
Is
really
it
go
me?
home and then the other thing is, I just have this sneaking suspicion that it is the obstructionists who want to set up these meetings all day, every day, so that way you can't get any work done. Like if you're constantly on Zoom calls with the team and you're constantly having to be on, I feel like that's a form of obstructionism because you're obstructing progress with busy work.
Boy, that's true. That's true.
I have resentment about that. Like you
I
want me to pull these rabbits out the hat, but you keep taking my hat away. Like
I can't remember who I was speaking to, and of course, if I did remember, I would not say the names, but he ran into an organization that every Monday, from 8 to 9, the entire executive team and all of the consultants had a mandatory start of the week. Wow. Like the week already started and you're talking about the week on a Monday morning? No, that's a bad idea. And again, the reason this person came in, they said, why are we having 1 hour long? He says, do you know what this is costing? But it's not just the labor, it's the decisioning. You're going to walk out of that meeting, and sometime around 1 p.m. on a Monday, you might start making decisions that don't have an impact until when? Friday?
well, the only experience I have with that is when I was on a leadership team and we had Monday morning calls every Monday. And what it was basically the leader of the organization just berating people. on Monday morning. Like I never got screamed at, but I was definitely, he'd be on speakerphone. It was like an abusive Charlie's Angels. I mean, it was like two women. We never got yelled at, but the men in the room from this speakerphone in the center of the conference room table would just be get like ripped to shreds every Monday morning. You want to talk about kill morale? You're just like, oh,
Yeah, that's not. And
you never
so
listen. You
there's
gotta do
no
what you want to
recovery.
do.
There's no
Yeah.
recovery.
When I think what it was, thinking about what you're saying is he'd always be like, well, you're going to do what you want to do anyway. Well, I don't even know I'm on this call. And I'm like, why are we on this call? Like, and so he would be using Monday to tell people not to make decisions.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty much what it was. So in my mind, if there's a Monday morning call, I don't think it's getting on the same page for the week. I just, in my mind, because of my experience, I'm just like, this is a beratement call to keep you in line
Yeah.
throughout
And
the
that's the
week.
problem. And so if you find yourself in these organizations, the best you can do is to survive it is learn how to communicate to it, right? Learn how to think around it.
I mean, I think for me, it's not to take it personally. I think, that might be, I might not be the only woman who feels that way, but it it just like not that I ever got yelled at. When I was in trouble, I'd get ghosted. So I think there was like something bad about yelling at a woman. But
Mm.
when you really care about doing a good job and you see everybody else getting yelled at for whatever mistake that they made, and you don't want to make any mistakes, you're taking it personally. Like they know something more than I do. They're the leader. Like I can't fail the leader. I can't be disloyal. I
Gosh.
can't be this. I can't be that. And if you're working with an obstructionist, you will twist yourself into a pretzel trying to make this person happy, and you'll never make that person happy. They are incapable of being happy. They're only happy when they're saying no.
Is that person you're
Like,
talking about making mistakes to this day?
well, yeah. I mean, I can list off some mistakes they've made this week. So I'm no longer involved, so it's not my problem.
All right. Well, that was what I wanted to cover that. And I think the next topic, which might be short, is we could cover narcissism or we could start. The whole point is it's, I want anybody looking at this to realize there is a very high chance if you're intuitive, if you're sensing something and it's confusing, disorienting, or if you feel like it's flat out wrong, it's not you. And you have an 8 out of 10 chance that it's the leadership of the organization, which sounds frightening.
Well, because you're putting your faith in them.
Yeah.
And you also are aspiring to be one of them. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of like a gut punch in a way when you realize that the emperor has no clothes. Like leadership isn't making good decisions and you don't understand why. And you're like, is it this company? Should I leave? Like if you go to a different company, I mean, why not just stay with the devil you know? It's just
Well, go
why
join the exceptional companies.
I mean, apart from Patagonia, like those are difficult to find. I mean, even the companies that are in the news all the time, it doesn't mean they're an exceptional company. OpenAI has no business model. That's all everybody's talking
Well,
about.
I would argue we have the list, and I'd
Yeah, we have the
say
list,
I would
but
argue we could match the person to the company, but that's not our business model necessarily. But
well, it's more just like if you don't have the tools that we have and you're just going based off of feel, you're like trying to noodle a catfish in the Mississippi. I mean, it's hard. Like it just like
good luck. All right.
yeah.
Is this good one? We'll pick up
Yeah.
next on the next
Until next
topic.
time, we'll talk about narcissism next go around.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Bye.